Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Ronnie from the blog Our High Street Home. In this video, I'll show you how I gave this vintage table a simple makeover with some homemade chalk paint. We had originally purchased this table from an antique store when we first moved into our home, and it did have quite a bit of damage, but some of that damage was also caused by us. I have been putting plants on it, and on and off the water has leaked and damaged the top. It also had some trim missing, but it was in inconspicuous spots. The first thing I did was clean it very well with Dawn dish soap, and I use this one a lot because it is a degreaser. The problem with this table was no matter how much I rinsed it, it still kept bleeding. I finally just stopped rinsing it and let it dry overnight and decided just to start sanding down the rough areas. I began with my Ryobi hand sander using 60 grit sandpaper, and then I went to 120 grit to smooth everything down. I love these Ryobi tools that run on batteries. I've got a little collection going, and it's great because the batteries that come with them are interchangeable between the tools. It's so nice not having to worry about being stuck to the length of a cord. Once all the sanding was complete, I wiped everything off to get rid of all the dust with a tack cloth. There was one area of damage that did show up a bit, and it looked as if before I had gotten this piece, this part of the trim here had broken off and had been affixed back on. I wasn't quite sure how they put it back on, but it was on there very secure. I ended up just filling the gap in with joint compound, letting it dry, and then sanding it smooth before I painted it. I decided to paint the table using homemade chalk paint. I've used homemade chalk paint in the past and I've had very good luck with it. I was hoping it would give me good enough coverage so I wouldn't have any bleed through, seeing as the piece was still bleeding every time I rinsed it. And it ended up working out just fine. The color I used ended up being a mixture of colors that I had left over on other projects. And I made my chalk paint with a very simple recipe I've seen many times on YouTube. It was a cup of regular paint, a third of a cup of plaster of Paris, and a third a cup of water, and just mixed very well. The coverage has always been great, and so far I've had no bleed through on any of the projects I've used it on. I used two different brushes to paint this table. I used a flat angled brush, and I used a generic chalk paint brush, which is round, that I picked up at the hardware store. It was a lot easier using the round brush on all the details, so going back and forth was needed to get full coverage on this table. The second coat of paint is always the most satisfying for me. It goes on quicker, and you just can really appreciate how pretty your piece is starting to look. Now, as you can see, there are some imperfections in this piece, and that's okay with me. It's vintage, and I actually like that. For my top coat, I used Bare Decorative Wax in Clear. I usually put it on with a little stiff round brush that I have, and it's a separate brush than what I paint with. So I have a waxing brush and a paintbrush, and I work it in really good, and I wipe away any excess with a light colored cotton rag, either an old t-shirt or the rags that you can buy from the hardware store. When I wax the top, I put it on in circular motions to make sure the wax is worked in very well. And then when I go over it with the cloth, I try to go the whole length of the piece in one direction to make sure that wax application looks nice and smooth. After I waxed the piece, I let it sit, in this case for 2 days, and then I did buff it with a clean, dry cotton cloth to get a little bit of a satin finish, because that's what I like. I didn't end up distressing this piece at all, and I didn't use any dark wax on it. I decided I wanted to just let it stand on its own. Thank you for joining me for this video. If you like this video, please like and subscribe.